Okay, let's unpack this. Forget what you thought you knew about, the little picture next to a company name.
Yeah.
We are diving headfirst into a pretty provocative idea today. One that really challenges the foundation of branding as we've known it for, well, decades.
It really does.
The core statement, and this is pulled right from the articles and research we've been digging into for this deep dive, is basically logos are dead.
Yeah.
And the real conversation, the actual connection, the substance of a brand's identity,
Mm.
it's shifted dramatically
To symbols.
to symbols. Exactly.
Yeah.
It's definitely bold, grabs your attention for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
But it really captures this deep evolution that's happening like right now in how brands talk to us.
Talk with us, maybe.
That's a good point. It implies more interaction. We're moving past those static fixed images, the official signatures,
All right.
towards something much more fluid,
Yeah.
emotive, dynamic.
So this deep dive, this is our mission, right? To,
Yeah.
to understand that huge shift. Why are traditional logos, these carefully made marks, why are they supposedly losing their grip? Yeah, what's happening there?
And what are these symbols exactly? The ones stepping up, how do they even work?
Hmm.
And maybe the biggest question, what does this mean for you listening right now, for us? For anyone who deals with brands every day online.
Or anyone trying to build their own thing, their own presence.
Exactly. Anyone trying to build their own brand online, our goal here is to, cut through the hype, pull out the key insights from all this material.
And just give you a clear picture of what's actually changing.
Yeah.
And look, this isn't just some abstract theory, right? It's totally relevant to your everyday life.
Mm.
Every single time you scroll your feed, see an ad, click on some content, you're bumping into brands trying to figure this out.
Constantly.
So understanding this shift,
Mm-hmm.
it gives you like a new lens, a decoder ring, maybe.
I like that, a decoder ring for branding.
Yeah. To sort of interpret this subtle but really powerful visual language that's just all around us. It helps you see why some brands just, click.
I just resonate.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
While others just feel flat.
Okay, so we're going to guide you through these sources. I'll be here, bringing the curiosity, trying to connect these big ideas back to stuff you already see.
Asking wait, but how does that actually work?
Yeah,
Questions.
totally.
The practical angle.
And I'll be here trying to provide the analytical side, connecting the dots, explaining the forces driving this, and digging into what it all really implies.
Sounds good.
Together, we'll explore the material and figure out what this big statement, logos are dead, symbols speak, what it really means in practice.
All right, let's jump in. The core argument, the thing that kicks this whole discussion off. It's this idea from the sources that logos, those familiar marks we always thought were the cornerstone.
The absolute foundation.
Yeah. They're losing that top spot. They haven't disappeared, obviously, you still see them.
Of course.
But they're not the main way brands build that deep connection anymore or define what they're really about in our minds.
And the material hits you right away with a pretty striking statistic to back that up.
Lay it on us. Okay, so a 2023 study by Interbrand, they're a major brand consultancy, found that a huge 68% of consumers.
68%. Wow.
Yeah, 68% actually care more about a brand's values than its visual logo.
Okay, stop right there. More than values, than the logo.
More about the values. Think about that. Over 2/3 of people prioritize the intangible stuff, what a brand stands for, how it acts, its purpose.
A why.
Exactly. The why over the visual mark that historically was its main identifier. That's not a small tweak. That's a huge recalibration of what people prioritize.
68%. That number really is jarring, isn't it? Just flips the whole script on like decades of branding 101 where the logo was king.
Totally. Put on a pedestal.
Yeah. So just recognizing the logo isn't enough anymore to really connect. People are looking past the badge to the beliefs behind it. Why do you think values have shot up in importance like that?
Well, I think it points to a much deeper level of engagement that people expect now. The world is just saturated with choices, with information. Total overload. And people are looking for alignment. They want to connect with brands whose purpose, whose ethics, whose impact actually resonates with their own values. A logo, well, it's functional for ID, sure.
Yeah.
But it doesn't inherently tell you about values.
No, it's just a picture, usually.
Right. It's the brand's actions, its communication, where it stands on big issues. That's what builds that sense of shared values.
Okay.
So that interbrand stat suggests people are doing a more complex calculation now when they choose brands. It's less about, oh, I recognize that product, and more about, do I align with what this entity stands for? Does it feel authentic?
Okay, that makes sense. So if logos are fading because they feel like these static things, these markers,
hmm
the sources call them frozen in time, like old photos.
Yeah, that's a great description.
They're basically the face of the brand, right? The visual shorthand for recognition.
Then the argument flips. Symbols are stepping into that gap. They offer what the old logo can't.
And how are symbols described?
In total contrast, they're alive, fluid,
Yeah.
dynamic. They speak without words, hitting you instantly with feeling, with evocation.
Not just representing the company.
No, representing movement, ambition, creativity, rebellion, community. These bigger ideas, these emotions, they're presented not as the face, but as the soul.
Face versus soul. I like that.
Or the essence of the brand. They get to the why.
That contrast really clarifies it. And the examples the sources give.
Yeah.
Once you see them this way, it's hard to unsee it. Like the Nike swoosh, classic case, right? The material says it's way beyond just being a logo now.
Oh, absolutely. It's held up as like a prime example of a symbol working its magic.
How so?
The swoosh isn't just identifying sneakers or gear. It embodies movement, speed, momentum, right? That feeling of pushing limits,
Yeah.
winning, ambition.
Yeah, you feel it.
You feel it, especially when you see it in motion on athletes. It triggers this gut reaction. It feels active, not passive. And the source makes the point. People aren't just buying a shirt with a swoosh. They're buying into the feeling, the mindset, the whole ethos that symbol beams out instantly.
It's emotional shorthand.
Exactly. For just do it. It's a feeling, not just a mark of origin.
An apple's bitten apple. Same kind of deal.
Similar story, yeah. It's not just, oh, tech company. The sources frame it as a symbol of creativity, of challenging things, thinking differently. Even a little bit rebellious.
Thinking different, right.
Yeah. Seeing that apple, even without the word apple, it just conjures those ideas immediately. Innovation, maybe a bit iconoclastic, valuing design, individuality.
It's like a shortcut to a whole set of feelings and ideas.
Deeply embedded emotional shorthand, totally.
Okay, so why is this difference, static logo versus fluid symbol, why is it so crucial now? What makes the fluid symbol more powerful today?
Well, it really comes down to the environment where brands live now. The digital world, mostly. A static logo, it works fine on a package or a shop front. But it struggles to convey that complex emotional depth, that fluidity needed to connect on that values level that, 68% of people care about.
It can't carry that much meaning on its own.
Not easily.
Yeah.
But a symbol, because it represents an idea or a feeling, not just a name, it's way more adaptable. It resonates across different platforms, different cultural contexts. It can evoke slightly different things depending on where you see it, but it always anchors back to that core brand soul and that flexibility that's absolutely essential online today.
Which brings us right to the drivers of this whole thing. The digital world we all live in, and that crazy intense attention economy.
Yeah, those two things are like fuel on the fire for this shift.
It feels like they're just fundamentally changing how brands have to communicate effectively.
They really are. The basic problem for old school static logos, the online space is just incredibly noisy.
So much stuff flying at you.
Visually chaotic, and attention is the rarest thing there is. People scroll so fast, content gets consumed in like milliseconds. A static logo designed for maybe a billboard or a magazine page, it just vanishes online. It blends into the background.
It doesn't stop the scroll.
Exactly. It struggles to interrupt anything or stick in your memory when you're hit with thousands of other images.
Yeah, I see countless logos flash by on Insta or TikTok, and unless I already really love the brand, they're just part of the blur. They don't grab me or tell me anything beyond brand X was here.
Right. But symbols, the sources argue they have a huge advantage here.
How so?
They have qualities that help them thrive online. They stick. They're memorable because they tap into a feeling or a strong idea.
Okay.
They're inherently shareable. People are way more likely to share something that feels like a cultural nod or embodies a vibe they connect with.
Right, you share feelings and ideas more than just logos.
And crucially, they are memeable.
Ah, memeable. That's such a modern, fascinating benchmark for branding, isn't it? What does that actually mean for a symbol to be memeable, and why is that so gold in the digital space?
Being memeable here means the symbol is like simple enough, visually distinct enough, and carries enough built-in meaning or emotional juice that people can easily copy it, adapt it, remix it.
Play with it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And spread it organically themselves online. Think about how, Catchphrases or reaction images from TV shows become memes.
Yeah, totally.
A memeable brand symbol works like that.
Right.
It becomes this piece of cultural currency that users want to mess with, put in their own context, and share.
So it's like user-generated advertising almost.
Kind of.
Oh.
But way more powerful because it's organic. It shows the symbol isn't just being pushed by the brand, it's been accepted by the audience.
Yeah.
Integrated into how they communicate. That proves it resonates deeply.
Wow, it needs that sort of inherent cultural energy then. Recognizable, flexible, meaningful enough to be worth playing with.
Totally. And the way we interact online, those quick posts, ephemeral stories, short videos, it absolutely favors visuals that are instant hits.
Gotta land immediately.
Yeah. Emotionally resonant, easily copied or referenced. You need something that grabs you, triggers a feeling, and fits into user content. Not a formal logo designed for, like, corporate letterhead.
Symbols work as these powerful, versatile shortcuts for concepts and emotions.
Exactly. And the sources dive into a really great case study for this, Glossier.
Oh yeah, Glossier.
Okay.
They definitely have a vibe.
They're highlighted as a brand that didn't really lead with a complex logo. They built their whole identity around something much more symbolic.
The color, right, the mood.
The color, the mood, the vibe. Precisely, that Glossier pink.
Instantly recognizable. It's not just pink, it's that pink. It feels like, I don't know, fresh, minimalist, approachable beauty.
That's it, exactly.
Yeah.
That specific shade of pink became their core symbol. It embodies their brand essence. And the sources mentioned their 2024 campaign leaned right into this blush aesthetic. They weren't just selling products, they were selling a feeling, a look, a whole visual language built around that symbolic color and the mood it creates, soft, glowy, natural.
And what was the impact? Did it work?
According to the source, it was pretty remarkable. It connected so strongly with their audience that fans didn't just buy stuff. They spontaneously started making their own Glossier-inspired art online.
Wow, really? Like just on their own?
Just on their own. The brand didn't ask them to. It was this organic explosion of creativity showing how deeply that symbol resonated.
That's amazing.
That kind of spontaneous fan creation, that's like the ultimate win for a symbol online.
Yeah.
I mean, the symbol, the color, the vibe became more than just a brand asset. It turned into a conversation, like the source says.
Yeah.
It actively invited people to join in, to get creative.
So people went from just being consumers to being co-creators.
Exactly. Playing with, adapting, extending the brand's symbolic language in their own spaces, it shows the massive power of a symbol to build community and connection, way beyond what a static logo usually does.
It feels different, doesn't it? Like you're not just identifying with the brand, but you're invited into its world, its creative expression. Recognizing that vibe feels more immersive, more personal than just seeing a logo.
It taps right into that human need for belonging, for self-expression. Which brings us to another critical layer the sources discuss. Artificial intelligence.
Ah, okay. AI.
Described as a game changer in this new era of symbolic branding.
Okay, now my tech brain is kicking in.
Yeah.
We hear about AI making images, but how does it help craft symbols? Symbols that hit you emotionally? Is it just like churning out options?
It's way more sophisticated than just generating pictures, according to the material. AI's real power here is in analysis.
Analysis? How?
It can sift through massive amounts of
Yeah.
data. Online behavior, content engagement, what people look at, what they share, the words they use in comments, the emotions tied to visuals.
Okay.
By processing all that, AI can spot patterns. It can connect specific visual elements, colors, shapes, styles, with specific audience reactions, feelings, engagement levels.
So it's not inventing the core symbol idea itself, maybe, but it's like this incredibly powerful, massive scale focus group and trend spotter all in one.
That's a great way to put it. It helps brands really listen to what visual language is already clicking with people emotionally, or what has the potential to click.
On a huge scale.
On a massive scale.
Yeah.
It identifies correlations between what people see and how they feel or react. AI can't feel, obviously, but it can analyze the patterns of human feeling expressed online in response to visuals.
So it gives you insights into preferences, into cultural resonance that were just impossible to get before, at least not quickly or at that scale.
Exactly. Incredibly granular insights.
So it helps inform the creative process, grounding it in data about how real people are actually responding. The sources mentioned Coca-Cola, right? Their 2023 Real Magic campaign.
Yes, that campaign is used as a key example. Coke didn't ditch their iconic logo, of course not.
No way.
But they used AI to make their visual communication way more dynamic, more symbolic. AI generated these unique, adaptive visuals. They still use the classic Coke script and bottle shape, But AI rendered them in these fantastical, surreal, constantly shifting art styles, often influenced by user preferences or what was trending on social media.
Whoa. So the brand's visuals actually felt like they were alive, morphing, responding to the moment or the person.
Pretty much. It
Yeah.
wasn't just one static image repeated everywhere. It was this continuous flow of creative takes, all centered around those core symbolic elements, the script, the red, the bottle.
Hmm.
The AI helped make visuals feel fresh, magical, even kind of personal to whoever was seeing them in their feed.
And did it work? What were the results?
Pretty significant. Adweek reported a 12% jump in brand engagement from that campaign.
12%, just from making the visuals more dynamic and adaptive using AI.
Yep. That's a real tangible impact. It shows how creating that feeling of a living, responsive visual identity, a fluid symbol, can directly boost interaction compared to just relying on the static logo.
It let Coke whisper back, like the source said, making those symbols feel more present, more personal.
It's a really strong case for AI enhancing symbolic communication.
Hmm.
But this leads us straight into a really important tension, a challenge the sources also bring up.
Okay, what's the catch?
If symbols can be engineered, optimized, using AI based on analyzing our emotions, can they lose their authenticity?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? It taps into that worry a lot of us have about AI in creative spaces.
Definitely.
If a symbol is built just because data says it will work, does it feel artificial, manipulative, soulless, like an algorithm just pushing emotional buttons?
It's a critical point.
Yeah.
And the sources stress it's a very delicate balance. AI is powerful for analysis, for execution, but the symbol still has to feel human, rooted in real purpose, real values.
It needs a soul.
Exactly. The phrase used is it needs to feel like it has a soul, not like they're spat out by an algorithm. If the intention behind it isn't genuine, if it's only about manipulating based on data, people are smart. They'll likely sniff out that lack of real connection.
So the AI should be a tool to help express an authentic brand essence better, maybe. Not a tool to invent an essence that isn't really there.
That's the key distinction. Remember that interbrand stat. Values are number one.
Right.
AI can help a brand figure out the most effective visual language to communicate its genuine values and connect with people.
Right.
But the values themselves, the core, why that has to be real, human-driven,
Right.
authentic.
Use AI for insight and amplification.
Not as a replacement for genuine identity. It needs careful human curation, a real commitment to purpose to make sure the symbol feels soulful, not synthetic.
Okay, so it's navigating that line. Data for resonance, but grounded in humanity. Got it. We've covered logos fading, symbols rising, digital drivers, AI's role, and its challenges. Let's look at a couple more examples from the sources that really nail this idea of symbols inviting participation, becoming conversations.
Definitely. Let's talk Starbucks and their siren.
Ac-
Totally iconic. The sources discuss her not just as a logo, but as this rich symbol.
Mm.
She carries a story, right? Community, warmth, maybe a hint of mystery, exploration, the coffee trade's seafaring roots.
There's a lot packed in there.
For sure.
Yeah.
And in 2024, they brought her to life in a way that explicitly invited people to play along. They used augmented reality filters on Snapchat.
Oh, yeah, I saw those.
Yeah.
Where you could put the siren's crown on your own head.
Exactly. It was
Huh.
fun, right?
Mhm.
Playful, super shareable.
Totally.
And notice the difference. They weren't just showing you the static logo. They were letting you interact with the symbol,
Mm.
personally, immersively.
You could embody it for a second, make it part of your own digital thing.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the results, Snap reported a 15% jump in user interaction with Starbucks on their platform during that campaign.
15%, just by letting people play with the symbol via AR.
It shows how AR can turn a symbol into this personal, shareable experience. You're not just seeing the siren, you're wearing the siren.
It totally changes the relationship, makes the symbol active in your story. That's clever.
Really powerful symbolic interaction. Now, another example the sources bring up, much more controversial, obviously, is the X rebrand.
Oh boy. Replacing the Twitter bird in 2023.
Yeah.
That definitely stirred the pot. People had strong feelings about losing the bird.
Understatement of the year. And look, while lots of the talk was about practicality or losing recognition, the sources look at the symbolism of that simple, bold X.
Okay, how do they frame it?
They see it not just as a letter, but as this statement. Radical change, openness, future potential, maybe ambiguity even. And the key outcome, from the source's perspective, was the sheer amount of debate it sparked. X feeds were just full of people arguing, what does the X mean? Is it good? Is it bad? Trying to figure it out.
Everyone became a brand analyst overnight trying to decode it. Tech. Money, the unknown.
Exactly. And the sources argue that that debate itself, that collective wrestling with the symbol's meaning,
Yeah.
proves it's a symbol that sparks conversation.
Ah, interesting take.
Unlike a logo you just passively recognize, a bold, maybe initially ambiguous symbol like X forces interpretation, it invites the audience to bring their own meaning, to discuss, to argue.
Even if the reaction is critical.
Even if it's critical, that active engagement makes the symbol a living thing in the culture. It's not just a passive tag anymore, it's a topic.
So the symbol's power isn't just its look, but what it does. The feelings it sparks, the conversations it starts, the participation it invites.
That's the core idea,
Yeah.
shifting from static representation to dynamic evocation and interaction. Logos fading as static IDs, symbols rising as fluid communicators of soul and essence,
Driven by digital life.
shaped carefully by AI.
And thriving when the audience jumps in.
That really pulls together the journey through these sources. It's a big shift.
Okay, let's nail down some key takeaways then. The absolute must-knows from all this.
All right. Takeaway number one, the big one. Prioritize symbols over static logos. Focus needs to shift. Less about just creating a fixed visual mark for ID, more about cultivating emotional, flexible symbols that actually tell a story, that convey the brand's real essence, its values.
Why is that storytelling part so vital now?
Because look, in this crazy crowded world, a static image is just data, visual noise.
Yeah.
But a symbol with a story baked in, like Nike's Just Do It feeling or
Yeah.
Apple's Think Different vibe, that it gives it depth,
Meaning?
makes it humanly relatable.
Stories stick.
Stories stick. They connect emotionally. They make the symbol resonate way beyond just, oh, I know that mark. They give you the why.
Got it. Okay, takeaway number two.
Use AI wisely.
Right. The balancing act.
Exactly. Leverage AI's power to analyze, to understand what resonates with people, to find potential symbolic directions. Use it to sharpen and amplify your symbolic communication. But
Keep it human.
critically, keep it human. Ground the symbol in genuine purpose, real values. AI is an amazing tool for insight, for execution. It's not the source of the symbol's soul.
And how does a brand practically make sure it keeps that soul, that human touch, when using these powerful AI tools?
It takes real intention, human oversight. The core values have to come from the brand's authentic mission, not just from data saying pink is trending.
Right.
Human creatives, human strategists need to guide it.
Yes.
Curate the AI's output, make sure it feels true, not just like a clever calculation to trigger emotions.
Use AI to make your real voice resonate better, not inventive voice based on stats.
Perfectly put. Okay, third big takeaway. Invite participation.
Get people involved.
Yes. Design your symbols so they can be shared, remixed, engaged with. Encourage those online conversations, those interactions around your symbolic language. Think Glossier's pink sparking art or the X getting debated endlessly.
That feels like letting go of control, which brands used to guard so fiercely. Why is sparking conversation, even argument, so valuable now?
Because it builds two absolutely crucial things today: community and perceived authenticity.
How so?
When your audience discusses, shares, adapts, plays with your symbol, it means they've sort of taken ownership of it. It's not just your thing anymore. It's part of their conversation, their culture.
It belongs to the community, too.
Right. And that organic engagement, it's way more credible, way more powerful than any perfectly polished corporate message. It builds real connection, makes the brand feel alive, and cements its relevance. It shows the symbol actually landed.
Okay, that's a powerful shift in thinking.
Wow. This has been quite the exploration, hasn't it? From static logos, just identifying things, to fluid symbols communicating soul, all driven by digital AI and getting the audience involved.
It definitely offers a fresh way to look at something we see constantly. And based on everything we've discussed, there's a practical thing you, listening, can try.
Yeah.
Audit your brand's visuals. If you have one or are thinking about one, look beyond just the logo. Do your other elements, your colors, your fonts, recurring images, photo style, do they evoke a specific feeling? Do they hint at a story that connects to your core purpose? And then experiment, right? Pick one element, a color, a shape, whatever, and consciously try using it as a symbol. See if it can communicate something more or differently than just your name or logo.
Yeah. If you're a creator, what color or shape just feels like your vibe, your essence? If you work with a brand, what's that non-logo visual that keeps popping up and seems to trigger a feeling in people? How can you lean into that?
It's an exercise, really. Shifting your mindset from just identification to actual evocation. Feeling over naming.
Exactly. Consciously exploring how visuals can speak on that deeper symbolic level.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, Logos may be fading, symbols stepping up, shaped by digital life, AI, authenticity, participation. It leaves us with a final thought to chew on, something maybe not explicitly in the sources, but flowing from them.
Okay.
If brands are relying more on these fluid symbols, symbols that adapt based on audience interaction, symbols informed by AI analyzing collective feeling, what does that mean for the whole idea of a fixed, static brand identity in the future?
Is identity itself becoming less fixed?
Yeah. Is brand identity becoming less of a statement the brand just defines and broadcasts, and more like a collaborative story,
Uh-huh.
an ever-evolving narrative, co-written in real time by the brand and its audience through how they interact with its symbols?
That's a big question, a fundamental shift in how we even think about what a brand is.
Something to ponder, for
Yeah.
sure. It might change how you think about building brands, managing them, even just experiencing them day to day.
Definitely food for thought.
And that brings us to the end of this deep dive into symbolic branding and the potential twilight of the logo's reign. Thank you so much for joining us as we unpacked all this material.
Yeah, we really appreciate you spending the time exploring this with us. And definitely tune in next time. We're tackling something that flows right out of this discussion about identity and the digital self.
Oh, yeah. What's up next?
Our next deep dive, based on the sources, is all about AI's role in crafting online identities. Not just for brands, but potentially for us as individuals too. How AI is shaping our digital selves.
Whoa. Okay, that sounds like the perfect next step. We'll definitely